Y'all, welcome to the Doggone Country Podcast. Me and Tyler Barron on here. I'm Justin Bryan. We got Nicky V on here today from Shenandoah.
Yeah, man.
What's up, buddy?
Nothing, dude. It's pretty out. Had a pretty drive in.
It is, man. It's nice outside. It's hot today. Tomorrow it's going to be like 50, I think.
Yeah, it's supposed to storm tomorrow, I think.
Yeah, it's going to rain.
Yeah.
So, Tyler, you guys have met a little bit. We had a fish fry, baby shower.
I've seen you playing for a couple of my buddies downtown, playing guitar and stuff, and we kind of talk and pass it. This is the first time.
It's always in passing. You're either getting on stage or I'm one of the two.
Yeah. Hey, Nick, bye. All right. Okay.
Nicky's a awesome guitar player. So, how long you been with Shenandoah now?
Just about 2 years.
Damn,
joined about 2 years ago now.
Time flies. 2 years.
Gig, man. It's a real good gig. Good bunch of guys.
Man, Marty Raybon is one of my favorite voices of all time.
Man, he brings it every single night. And I'll tell you this, I mean, everybody knows what a great singer he is. They've all heard what a great singer he is. But, and I'm not just saying this because I'm still in the band or whatever, this would still be in the memoirs 20 years later, when the dirt comes out. But I don't think there's ever been anybody as good with the people as Marty is.
Yeah.
He literally just will stay for hours after every show. We're all sitting on the bus eating pizza and hanging out. And he's out there talking and praying with people and stuff and just hanging out. And literally just anybody's phone number, just talks on the bus nonstop to people.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's a really good cat.
That's cool.
We saw you guys at the Ryman a couple months ago. Jessie told me, she's like, hey, Nicky and Shenandoah are playing the Ryman. You want to go? I was like, yeah. And she's like, guess who else is there? And I was like, who? She goes, Phil Vassar. And I'm like, oh shit, we're going. That man, tickets could have been $800. I'd have been there. I love Phil Vassar and I love Shenandoah.
And Phil's another example of being like top shelf human being on top of monster musician, artist, writer, singer guy.
Yeah.
He's just like Phil's one of the first like people I met when I first came to Nashville. I came down here just visiting with a friend of mine that plays in a group called Six Wire.
Yeah,
and they were backing up Phil on a corporate show, and he hung out backstage and talked to me for like 10 minutes. Like didn't know anything about anything. I literally hadn't moved to town yet. And he sat down and talked to me like we're old friends for 10 minutes. He's like the nicest guy, man.
That's so cool.
You love to hear that because it's not always that way.
No.
Yeah.
There's this reason why they say don't meet your heroes,
Man,
when you do and they're awesome.
Dude,
yeah.
I'll tell you this too. I think a lot of the guys that got like a bad rap back in the 80s and 90s for being, just like, asses for the most part.
Yeah.
I've met most of them now being in Shenandoah because it's a 90s legacy kind of act.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if they just mellowed out, if they're on good behavior now or what, or just, they're not the newest thing, so they're cool now,
Sure.
But every person I've met has been nothing but wonderful. Like all of them. The ones that are like known to be like not cool, all of them were just cool as can be to me the whole time.
I've only met one that was not cool. And
Yeah.
obviously, I'm not going to say who it was, but I opened for them and they were not very nice. And, but we've talked about this too, man.
Yeah.
And I was like, most of the time, like we talked about this on the last episode. When you're that famous, though, like Marty Raybon, I feel like he can go grocery shopping now.
Oh, yeah.
But in 91, could he?
Yeah.
I would have got recognized.
Yeah.
So, like, when you're that famous, dude, sometimes you just wake up in a bad mood. You don't want to be dicked with. You want to go do your own thing. And when you can't even go to the bathroom without somebody going, hey, man, nice to see you. Oh, my God, I'm a big fan. I got this cat that had babies, and I named 3 of the babies after you. And it's like, no, man. So you catch them on a bad day.
The catering might have been not what they wanted that day or something, and they're just wore out by people wearing them out 24/7 with things.
Yeah.
Another thing people don't think about too is like, I'm not famous, but in my hometown, it's a big deal that I left and came to Nashville and played with Shenandoah or whatever. And the amount of text messages and Facebook messages and stuff I get daily being a nobody is a lot. Like it is a lot to deal with it,
Yeah.
And I couldn't imagine being actually somebody and what they have to deal with just on the social media thing, and emails and people calling and, hey, I'm having this charity, but it's for a great cause, and you feel guilty telling them no because, you charge whatever you charge a show, in the tens of thousands, and they can't afford that, and it doesn't make sense to get a bus there and the fuel and everything. So it's those guys deserve to get paid what they're paid.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
It's not free to travel.
Nobody understands all the money on the back end to go play a show, man.
It's more than you think. You start adding it up, man. It's
even at our level, you got a bar somewhere that maybe holds 400 or 500 people or something, a bigger bar, and they're like, yeah, we'd love to have you guys, man. You're a great band. How about $600 for Saturday night and you play 4 hours?
Sounds like a lot, but
like I can't even pay my band for that.
No.
Like, and then I got to get rooms. I got to figure out how to get up there, or get a bus if you don't want to get rooms. Like it's
yeah.
And
man.
I think a lot of that too is people don't talk about money. And because it's like this thing we shouldn't talk about. Like I tell everybody everything. I'm like, no, because I was the clueless one when I came to this. I'm like, what does this charge? What is the normal going rate to pay a drummer to play on your record?
Yeah.
What does a session that's off the card go for if you're not going through the union?
Mm-hmm.
These are very like gray topics of discussion that people don't know about. What do touring acts get paid? Like if you're Taylor Swift's guitar player, what do you get paid? Like that's a huge question you cannot Google the answer to.
Sure.
Yeah.
And so I try to be as just like transparent as I can outside of my current situation with what I know.
And a lot of it, like especially outside looking in, it's not as much as you think.
No, it's not.
It's way less than you think, especially for the musicians.
I mean, most of the guys that are playing for national acts are still playing Broadway.
Yeah.
There's a reason for that.
There's a reason for that.
And every one of them that I talked to is like, yeah, I can make more money here. Like, and I'm not on the road, or I can make the same amount here, and I'm not on the road.
Other than the guys that are playing for your, I mean, there is a couple, but like, your guys that play for Carrie Underwood or Brad Paisley or Keith Urban, you don't see a whole lot of them downtown. But your Cody Johnsons, your mid-level
FGL's drummer, like when FGL was still pretty popular, he used to play.
So I started compiling. I was like, okay, I'm tired of like not knowing the answer to this. And so I started compiling a list in my phone of like what the known acts are and people I know in their bands. And I'll just ask them like, hey man, what is your day pay? What's your per diem?
So you've got a list?
I have a list of what, like I started in my phone of like what these people make so I can figure out this is a feasible way for me to like, do I want to stay playing live forever? Or do I want to transition fully into doing studio work? Because right now it's kind of 50-50.
That's really cool.
And I was trying to figure out, okay, like I need to have answers to this. And I just started asking people that I'm close with and trust and know that I'm not going to go blabbing about, whatever. And here's like, this is in generality sense, but like, here's what I've realized. The legacy acts tend to pay a little more. So like your 90s acts and your early 2000s acts pay pretty well.
Okay.
And most of them are in the, like when I say pretty well, relatively to what I'm about to say with some of the newer acts, but they're in the 400 to 500 range. And then like the guys in Reba's band are very well taken care of.
Yeah.
Garth's band is a very great gig, you know? And then like, some of like the really big artists from like the early 2000s, their guys are all on salaries that are, in the $80,000 to $100,000 range, and they're doing well with that. And then they come to town, they do sessions and stuff. So they're pushing $150,000 a year on top of work outside of that if they're hustlers. And then I hear about like very, very big modern country acts that broke in the last 5 years that are like household name huge, doing stadium tours. And their guys are getting $300, $350 a show.
Yeah.
Like that, traveling, no per diems, no travel days.
$350?
$350 a show on like major,
and they're playing
like stadium acts.
Yeah, and they're getting paid $2 million to come play.
Yeah.
So I didn't know this.
That's kind of.
I didn't
realize it was. I didn't realize that.
Yeah, Shenandoah takes really good care of us.
Sure.
They're very generous.
You should take care of your band.
They do, man. They're a good bunch. And the two original members are Mike and Marty. Mike McGuire's the drummer.
Yeah.
Mike's a cool cat, and Marty's good as they come, man.
Yeah.
They take really good care of their guys. There's take care of us on Christmas bonus and stuff like that. And there's a per diem, and they treat us very fair and respectfully.
Yeah. Well, what I was going to say earlier, I'm glad you said that. So when I went to see them at the Ryman, like what he said, I can totally back up because I thought it was so cool. And I couldn't get myself to go do it as bad as I wanted to. I wanted to be a kid. But when you guys finished that show, Marty walked off stage, and he wasn't gone maybe 2-3 minutes. And here he come back. And he walked out there, and everybody went to the front of the stage, man. He stood there taking pictures and signing stuff and meeting people.
Every show.
And we were standing there talking to you with your parents, and the whole time we left, he was still out on the stage.
Yeah.
Like he was still doing it.
And a lot of...
You didn't go shake his hand?
No, I didn't. I wanted to so bad. I didn't want a picture. Didn't want him to sign anything, but it was a bunch of kids and stuff up there.
I get it.
as bad as I wanted to go up there and just throw the damn kids out of the way, just
back little shits.
Get back. You don't even know who.
I know this is charity for y'all. But
I've been listening to him since '95.
You don't even know.
I was barely born when they were out. I know you weren't.
But so yeah, I can verify that. And also,
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Going back to the pay scale in the '90s guys. So again, I'm not going to say no names, but I didn't know how this worked. I really didn't. And I had a guitar player that played with me for a while that ended up leaving me to go with a '90s act, a big one.
Yeah.
And he, maybe a year and a half, he played with him, and he quit. And we got to talking about it, and I was like, "Man, dude, you had it made. Why'd you quit? Blah blah blah." And he's like, "Well, we were on salary, and I think it was like salary per so many dates.
Yeah.
So like I think it was 60 dates that they got paid salary for. Well, they had already played their 60 dates, and they added more shows on in the same year.
And didn't compensate him for it?
No. So basically, he was like, "Yeah, I'm not doing that. I was playing for free."
If that's what's in writing on the contract, then
yeah,
that's
and I was like,
"That's awful."
Damn, dude, I never even thought about that. Never would have thought about that.
Yeah.
Didn't know. So
we always assume you play, you get paid. That's what we're used to. You know?
I'm not honestly super. Sometimes the salary thing makes sense.
Sure.
But it's a lot easier to get abused when you're on a salary.
Yeah.
I've realized that. I would rather get paid for what I do. If I leave the house, I need to be getting paid a certain amount of money.
Yeah, because you're spending money.
And if I'm losing money anytime I lose my house because I work at my house and I record on tracks. I did 3 before I came here today.
So do you get paid for traveling too?
Some acts do, some acts don't. A lot of acts will pay half show pay on travel days.
Yeah.
Like say you're playing in Wichita on Thursday, then you're off Friday, then Denver on Saturday. They'll give you half show pay for like Friday. That's what a lot of acts do. Some don't.
That's cool.
Yeah, that's.
I wasn't asking specifically.
No.
Yeah, just in general.
Yeah, that's crazy, man. I didn't know how any of that worked. I mean, I knew you get per diem, and I knew, stuff like that, and I knew like pay scales are everywhere.
It's all over the map, man.
I mean, I've heard musicians say they get $250 a show.
I've heard 250 is very low, and a lot of them around 3. 3 and 350 is a pretty common number.
It's got to be crazy to go play a stadium and get done,
dude,
and go, "Here's your check." It's $300.
If you look at them, like if you just scroll through Instagram and see like the bands that are playing for which particular artist, if you look at like Reba's band, I have a session. I'm playing a session on Friday, and it's a 12 songs or 10 songs one day kind of thing, and half the guys on that session are Reba's band. There's a reason that they're leaving town to go out and play for Reba's because she takes great care of them.
Yes.
It's not just because, I want the name of playing.
I can
Reba.
see
They've
that. I can see her
days, you know what I mean?
Being just an awesome person.
That's what I've heard.
Yeah.
And to them it makes sense and they're compensated for it,
Sure.
And personally, I think, it's not too far from where it needs to be. Like if you think about how hard it is to become like an artist in that top, 0.001%.
Oh man.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? If you get to that point and your voice goes to tape a certain way, then you deserve to be getting paid that. But there's so much of that pie that could be distributed out a little more,
Sure.
past what it is, obviously. And there's a lot of people to pay. Usually your biggest expense on the road is your bus driver and your bus and your fuel.
Yeah.
Period. That's just what it is. And take that away, say an act, and what acts get paid is all over the map too. Like if it's a known act and they've had a couple number ones and stuff, none of them are really playing for much less than 20 grand from what I've heard, and it goes up to, from 90s to 2010, those kind of artists are in the 100 grand to 30 to 20 range or anywhere in between. And then, it goes astronomical from there.
Yeah.
But,
I think I've seen that Jason Aldean gets 1.3 million a show.
I have no idea on that. That's high.
Yeah. I mean,
I can see it.
I guess that's
it's like Jason and Carrie, and Luke.
That's one of the things.
Like that level, it's right there, like 1.1, 1.2 million.
I've always wondered this, like on those big stadium acts, like say if you sell out an NFL football stadium, are you getting? How does that work? Do you get up with the stadium and they're like, we'll pay you X amount to come here, and then they keep ticket sales and food sales and drink sales? Like, where's the money?
I'm sure there's variations on this, but from what I've seen, mostly it's an agreed upon amount.
Okay.
that's booked through the booking agent or management. And it's like, hey, this act cost this. What's your budget? Here's the list of acts through
So
this
do the
booking agency or whatever.
do the owners of the stadium pay out, or how does the food situation work? Like, does the stadium get to keep that? Like, how does
people that host events? So I don't have a ton of experience in like the mega stadium. We've played stadiums, but most of it's like, the small town in Georgia, this is their event for the year.
Yeah.
And the whole city gathers up all their tax money or whatever, and this is what they do for the local fair or whatever, and they bring us in, or Diamond Rio or somebody, And the ones that do it right, say that it's an independent person that's hosting an event and they're bringing in an act. All of their overhead, which is the band and catering or whatever, and accommodations like hotel rooms, they pay for all that. It's covered on advertising on the front end.
Okay.
So they're risking nothing by bringing us there. If they have they have to have the advertisements in place before we even get there, the deals agreed upon or signed on or anything like that, because that's how they cover their ass, period. And then anything that comes in the door and then concessions and all that is profit in their pocket.
Sure.
So they break even on the band with advertisements, and then ticket sales goes to whoever booked it.
Okay.
Sometimes they'll do like a kickback, like if you have like a certain number, past a certain number, they'll give a band a percentage of that or something. I've heard too, but I'm not super well versed in that, so I don't want to talk about if I'm
I always
wrong.
wondered, because you have like all the fans are like, man, these ticket prices are insane, like blah blah. The artist should do. Is that really?
That's not on the artist.
That's what I was going to say. That's not on the artist, is it?
Most of the time, no.
Okay.
That's.
I know. Who was it? A couple years ago that. Well, there's several artists, or one or two that, like their tickets are known to be really cheap.
Yeah. Well, there's some artists that are like, I do everything I can to keep the tickets cost at this point, but they don't say, hey, the tickets are going to be this much. You know what I mean? So it's almost like they're doing everything they can to keep tickets low.
That's a good question.
But they don't actually have the say so. And is it going to be $60 or is it going to be $300?
That tells me right there that they're either negotiating that deal on the front end with the venue, or they're only playing venues that they know they can sell a certain number of tickets that make sense financially for what they charge that venue to play there.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. That makes sense.
That'd be my guess on that.
That makes sense.
And I'm not the one doing the dealings and all this. This is me just kind of peripherally seeing things happening around me, and
It's just,
the management's there and everybody,
They'll go
There's the big.
They'll go around hunting dogs.
I got a big old home too.
So
It's a big old mutt.
you were talking about playing sessions and stuff. So you do that a lot too. You play guitar on whoever pays you to play on their song, right?
Exactly. That's my main gig is actually that.
Really?
So I used to play downtown when I was playing with you guys quite a bit. Now I play down there maybe like once a month, if that. And I just do like filling stuff when I get called for it. But the problem is usually that's on Friday and Saturday night. We're on the road with Shenandoah. So my schedule looks like this. I get up at 5:30 every day, and I try to have at least 3 songs done before noon, and then do YouTube videos or edit or whatever, social media stuff, and then pick up on anything that's running long, And so basically I'll record Monday through Thursday, get on the bus Thursday night, back Sunday morning, and then hang out with my wife, for a day and a half. That's what it looks like usually.
That's awesome. Man, so how you have a studio in your house, right?
Yep.
So if I called you and I said, "Hey Nicky, I'm going to send you this track. You can record straight from your house. You ain't got to go to a studio anywhere else and come in and because I've done that. I'm sure you've done that too.
Yeah.
Like you go in and they got all these different rooms and with amps and shit. And
I'm doing that on Friday, man.
It's awesome.
Yep, and both are completely different things.
Does it
is a
feel
night and day different skill set.
Which one do you like doing better?
100% playing with other people in the same room.
Yeah.
Sure.
Because you have like their energy to feed off of and stuff. It's like I'm sitting there like this morning, I got up and I was recording by 6:30. I pressed, record on the laptop, and I'm sitting there, I'm staring at a computer screen until 1 o'clock when I came here today. You know? And by myself trying to figure out what some person in Turkey is wanting me to play on this film score, you know what I mean? Like trying to read through between the lines, and every producer has their own lingo. I need to sound like a whale on the other side of the ocean, Okay, and you'd be able to interpret that. Okay, that means, okay, we're going to grab a Strat, do volume swells, put the vibrato bar, and we're going to put a bunch of verb and delay on it to where it sounds super distant. We're going to tuck those way back in the mix, and we're going to put some in-your-face guitars in front of it. Yeah. So, like, I have to be able to read between all those lines and interpret all these different, people.
Oh, my gosh.
Is there a rabbit, like, running in front of their pen?
It might be.
What is going on?
I might have to go get the dogs to shut up while you guys talk for a minute.
Well, I mean, we can always just edit and come back in.
But, yeah. Well, y'all talk. If we have to cut it out, we cut it out.
I'm pretty sure you can. I'm pretty sure you can hear him. Can you hear him? Well, it's fine. It is called the Doggone Country Podcast.
It's true. I mean, it's kind of right on par, right?
So these are so me and Justin have 2 beagles.
Okay.
They're the ones that are out here.
Like you each have 2?
Yeah. Well,
Okay.
no, I have one and he has one.
Okay.
He was like, I want to get a beagle. And I was like, dude, I love beagles. I had them when I was a kid. We loved to go rabbit hunting and stuff.
Yeah.
And he was like, we really need more than one. And I was like, if you get one, I'll get one. And he's like, deal. So that's how we ended up with those 2.
I got one too, man.
I heard that.
Yeah, he's
feeding them now.
my beagle. His name's Ozzy Posborn, Prince of Barkness, Hines, and he's the laziest little turd, man. He's a little beagle mix nut.
Dude, they're great. They're such a good tempered dog.
He's the only beagle that doesn't bark.
Really?
He never barks, man.
God, we don't have that problem with those 2.
Yeah. Yeah.
At all.
My little dude, man, like I have to, when I'm recording, I want to be up there by me.
Yeah.
I got to run over there and wake him up if he's snoring too loud. It's bleeding in the mic if I'm recording acoustic,
That's awesome.
He just sleeps all day and wants to snuggle his mama.
Did you get him, buddy? Good Lord, that's the dang 3rd time we fed him.
We were talking about beagles where you were going.
Yeah.
I got one too.
Does he sound like that?
I was just telling him he's the only beagle that doesn't bark.
Yeah. It's like, we don't have that problem.
Nope. That little black one out there, boy, he can.
Get it.
He can. He doesn't bark that much. When he does, he's barking at something.
Yeah. He's got something to say.
That's mine. The other one out there,
Mine will bark at the wind.
buddy, he barks at leaves going by. He blades of grass that just move a little bit.
It's tough, man. It's like I would say 75% of my income is made recording acoustic guitar.
Really?
And so, and it's like everybody knows me. It's like, oh, he's the electric guy, and
Yeah,
it's like you saw the Shenandoah show. It's like a very ripping kind of
As
thing.
good of an electric guitar player as you are, that's nuts.
Yeah, it's like if I'm on a
I'm sure you're a good acoustic player.
if I'm usually on a tracking session, I'll play an acoustic. So like on Friday, I'm playing acoustic all day. James Mitchell's on electric, and
Really,
that's what it is. And
boy, James Mitchell.
oh,
That
dude,
sucker can play
and
guitar.
talk about another nice cat,
I don't know who that is.
studio guy.
Okay.
I've seen
There's so many people that I should know that I just don't.
man.
Oh,
I've,
dude,
I've seen
it's impossible,
James.
everybody.
I've seen James play live a lot at Up Music City, and
Really? Oh, he's a Music City. Yeah, he's everybody that plays.
he used to
there.
play with Chris Vita all the time out there. What's the kid's name? Oh, he was in the house band at Tootsie's when I first moved here. He was like 17.
Daniel Donato,
Man,
Nope.
no, he's a young kid. Gosh, I used to talk to him all the time.
Luke McQuarrie.
Mm-mm.
Nope.
Always wears bib overalls.
Yep.
Oh,
He's a killer.
William Bagby.
Bagby.
William Bagby. Yep.
yep.
Dude.
That dude's a killer, man.
We put a show with him. We did a show with Daly and Vincent, Bluegrass Band.
Yeah.
He was
Are you
playing. He
kidding?
was playing electric with him.
So he was.
I love those guys.
Yeah.
I used to listen to Doyle Lawson and stuff when Jamie was with him.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
He was on. He played for Joe Diffie for a couple years
Cool.
until Joe died, and I was on a gig with Joe, in Xenia, Ohio. I opened for Joe up there, and William was playing guitar.
He's incredible, man.
We were standing there talking to Mr. Diffie before the show. He was out there drinking Jack and Coke with us at sound check at noon.
Yeah.
And I was like, man, I just told him the story. I said, how long's William been playing with you? And he's like, oh, he's been with me for about 2 years now. I was like, he was on the house band at the bar in Nashville that I got booked at the first time I ever got a gig. And I was like, he was like 17.
Yeah.
And at this time he was, might have just turned 21 maybe. William had just killing it, dude.
Yeah.
I met him through Austin Crum. Do you know who that is?
Yeah.
So me and Austin played in a band together when I first got to Nashville. I got lucky when I first got here, and my 10th day in town, I was on a bus.
Yeah.
Just pure luck.
Oh, that's awesome.
And yeah, it was a weird deal. They basically gave me an audition as a courtesy to my friend that called in the favor for me, right? Like they didn't need a guitar player. They already had Austin. And I didn't know that. And so I went in there and I was kind of getting the feel of like, they're like, hey, yeah, we'll call you, we already got this other guy we really like, and I was like, oh, this is a courtesy kind of thing. But I was just happy to meet somebody. I just got to town, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I got a call a week later. He goes, hey, can you be on a bus, Thursday night, leave some Kroger and Franklin? I'm like, yeah, okay, yeah. Send me the songs, and I learned them real quick. And I just saw a thing in like Guitar Player magazine or some article online or something about Austin. And if you guys don't know Austin, he's this virtuoso chicken picker. Like studies under Bernie's on every session, pretty much. He's incredible. Now he's like 23 or something. He's super young. When I met him, he was like 19 or super young. And I walk on the bus, and this is like a day after reading this article, right? I walk on the bus, and they're like, yeah, we're going to take you both out, and kind of see what happens, Basically, it's like, is this like a trial thing to see what we like better, or what? I walk on the bus, and Austin's sitting there, and I'm like, oh, God, so much for this gig, Like, he's like just playing under the table. And they liked us both, him for the chicken picking stuff, though, me do the rock thing, so it's kind of like a rocked out whaling kind of gig, And so they kept us both, and we got to be good friends. And then Austin left and went to Shenandoah. And I stayed with that band for a bit, and then I switched to doing just COVID hit, and I did studio work full time from home. And then Austin left and went to Josh Turner, and then I came into Shenandoah.
That's awesome. That's cool. That's how that happened.
And Austin introduced me to William.
Cool.
At Music Store Barn, and I sat in on a song with him or something like that. Yeah. And then, but our keyboard player in Shenandoah, Andrew, played for Daly and Vincent too. So that's how we all knew each other through that little circle there.
That's awesome.
When I talked to him at your wedding, was he in a Christian band or something?
Andrew,
the
keyboard player. He grew up playing with the Kingsmen, and like the heyday of the Kingsmen. He was on a bus when he was 15, I think, or 15 or 16. He dropped out of like high school to go play piano with them, and finished got his degree on the bus or something. I don't know.
Dude, Island was talking about that when he was on the podcast last week. He was talking about leaving Kansas. He was in high school in Kansas, and he would fly to Nashville and get on a bus and go play for 80,000 people, be gone on the weekend. And he was always missing school, and he never told anybody where he was at. He told everybody he was sick all the time.
He was like, dude, I was embarrassed. Like, I just felt so weird. Like, everybody thought I was weird.
None of the other kids.
Oh, dude. That's I get it, man.
He said none of the other kids in Kansas could understand what I've been doing all weekend. He's like.
Yeah. And they'd think he was lying if they told him.
Yeah. It'd be like telling everybody you have like a pet dinosaur at home. You guys wait. You'll see it when you get there.
Dude.
I
hope my wife.
Can you go put Scout inside, please? My duck dog is barking his ass off right now.
Scout's on our logo.
Yeah. There's no ducks out there. He's just barking.
Oh.
There's a dog walking down the street. And welcome to the country, man. This is the Doggone Country Podcast. There's dogs walking down the street. We got
right on brand.
We got beagles 5 feet behind us. We got duck dogs in the backyard. It's a time. What a time to be alive.
GSP in the bed of my truck.
He does. Yeah. So, man, so when we were out with Diffie, William was just obviously burning it up, and we were talking about that, and Joe was just enamored. Joe's like, man, I've been here a long time, buddy. I've never seen a kid that can play guitar like that at 18, 19 years old, and but Joe was telling us stories about meeting Merle Haggard, Waylon Jennings, and dude, that was so awesome, man. Like getting to hear those stories from him.
It is cool, man. I was like just being able to ride around with Marty on the bus.
Yeah,
he knows everybody. I mean, like there's nobody that man doesn't know or has worked with. And he's got an incredible memory. He can tell you like what they ate, 5 years ago, 10 years ago, 20 years ago, and just talking about stuff. So like we played the Opry 2 weeks ago, I think, and Loretta Lynn's granddaughter was there, and her other granddaughter is a friend of mine, and I'm probably going to be playing on a record or producing or something coming up, and she's amazing. Her name's Jennifer Russell, and she's incredible. And I was asking Marty on the bus yesterday, I was like, hey, man, did you ever work with Loretta? He goes, yeah, we did a trip to Israel together. And he was like, she's hilarious, and just tells all these crazy stories about them on a bus and her just cracking everybody up, So it's like cool hearing Haggard. Tell me about Haggard. Okay, well, he says Haggard had some weird deal with sugar or something, or only drink Orange Sunkist or something crazy, Like it's like some random little nugget, I'm like, this man could write a book, Like, but some people, just want to keep that stuff to themselves. It's like a private thing.
The old stories about
soda.
Yeah. All the stories about Waylon and Merle and all of them.
Yeah, dude.
Waylon wouldn't drink, didn't want anybody drinking, but he'd do coke with the best of them, It's like
allegedly.
Right on, man. Allegedly.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Obviously, I wasn't there, but stories we've heard.
Oh yeah, man.
Pat McAfee says as long as you say allegedly, it's fine.
Allegedly.
I love that.
Boy, everybody. I feel like God, dude, I would give anything to go back and just see Nashville in the 80s and 90s.
Yeah.
As much as I love it now, I can imagine how great it was then, because everybody that's been here for more than 10, 15 years.
Sure.
It's like, oh, this ain't my Nashville. This
Dude,
horrible now. And I'm like,
I've been here for 10, and it's like, I mean, you've been here 8.
Dude, it's changed.
We talk about it, and it's like, dude, you remember back when it was like,
Yeah. I feel like I got here like right when it changed. I got here 6 years ago, something like that.
Okay.
Yeah.
And it's like, I came into like just knowing pretty close to what it is now.
Was like Aldean's and Luke Bryant's and all that there?
Yeah, it was.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so like I kind of got in like knowing what it is now.
That was a good time. Like when those bars first opened up,
That was great.
that was awesome.
Dude, they were awesome.
And it's like I only hear about like, the guy's been here 15, 20 years and stuff. Like, oh, hey, this is horrible. I'm like, this is great. I can imagine how great it was then,
Yeah.
Well, man, I think what they mean by that is like when we moved here 8-10 years ago.
It was the client. To me, it's the people that were here.
It was
like
it was the people. Everything is so watered down now, and a
don't-
lot of the older guys are gone.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so you walk around now, and hell, 90% of the musicians that you see are our age or younger.
Yeah.
Which is good,
Sure.
but a lot of them didn't grow up the way we grew up listening,
Yeah.
Exactly.
listening to Garth Brooks and Clint Black and Clay Walker. So they grew up listening to Blink 182 and
Yeah.
Green Day and Nickelback and stuff like
different deal.
that.
Yeah.
So you have your people that come here that want to hear good country music or really good singers, and I feel like I've said this on here too, so sorry for you guys that have listened to all the episodes, but
We're probably going to talk about this every podcast. me and him talk about this at least twice a week.
but like so this is trying to figure out how to say this again. Back then it wasn't so watered down. You didn't have so many stages.
Yeah.
So there was only so many spots.
Yeah.
And you had to be really good to get those spots.
You had to bring it. Yeah.
And when you walked into a bar downtown,
And you couldn't be an ass. Everybody on the, everybody had to like you.
you would get blackballed in a heartbeat.
Yeah, they'd be like, hell no, don't you book that guy again. He's no.
And you'd walk into a bar back then, and they were good.
Yeah.
I mean, first floor, second floor, third floor, they were good.
And now you're walking into the bass players eating nachos on stage.
Yes, man. Yeah.
Well, it kind of used to be like that too.
Yeah.
They would. Everything was more laid back.
I've seen a bass player eat a cheeseburger and fries on stage one time.
But I feel like the
like
people
for 2 hours. He was like, it wasn't like just gobbling it
Take
down.
it
It was just like
Gotta make this last.
in between every song.
sitting on a bass cab,
And
eating
like
a
he
cheeseburger.
didn't he didn't drink. So like
That's his vice.
the front man's up there, and he was kind of a front man that liked to drink a little bit. So he's like, hey man, do you guys want to buy the band a round of shots? We're drinking this. The whole band's drinking. The bass player's like, oh, I don't really drink, but if anybody wants to buy me a cheeseburger, and they did. And dude, he's just sitting up there, and he was kind of an older guy, and he like sat down. He was an awesome bass player.
Yeah.
But dude, he's just sitting there just.
Oh
Yeah.
man, that's
just
like
the whole time.
I feel like that's a big problem with it now. Is there's so many stages, and so everybody plays so much.
Well,
They have a hard time filling the stages.
Yeah.
yeah.
So at this point, you get people that come here and
I've played with so many people
don't-
that called me for gigs, like, because they couldn't find anybody to play with them. And I show up and I get to talking to them, and they're like, yeah, I've played 4 or 5 shows back home. And I'm like, what?
and you're in Nashville.
look,
And they break a string and they're like, hey, can you help me? And I'm like, what?
this is what I'm saying. I'm not talking shit about
No,
artists.
everybody has to start somewhere, I guess.
So you have to be so good at playing football to be in the NFL, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
This is the NFL
Yeah.
of music.
Totally.
You should have to be so good to play down here.
Yes, there should
So-
be a standard.
So this is the thing. When you see somebody that's not good enough to play down here, it's like, and they're playing a great stage at a
Yeah.
great time
Prime
on a
time.
Saturday night, and you're like, how?
Yeah.
What? And it's not jealousy. It's not anything like that. I got great gigs. I got the
Same, yeah.
I got the schedule that I made for myself.
Yeah.
They asked me what I wanted to play, and I did, and I got it.
Perfect.
I'm fine with my gigs. I don't need to
Yeah,
play
but
any.
no, you're looking at me like, what? How
But
does
you're
this work?
still
You know?
looking at them like, you are not. I'm sorry. This ain't a.
No,
you know?
and the thing is, we most likely, I don't know what your guys' background is necessarily, but I mean, like, I was playing smoky bars in Southeast Missouri when I was 14 years old.
Hell yeah.
5 nights a week.
Yep.
From 14 to 18, I played 5 nights a week, every single week, all year round. Like, that's what I did.
And you know why? That's why you got what you got now. You did it how you're supposed to do it.
I've had a lot of great help along the way, and like bunch of luck, but I've tried to like, play my cards right along the way the best I can as well. And have people like help me far beyond what I deserve for sure. Like ending up I was 10th day in Nashville on a tour bus. You know what I mean? Yeah. Skipped all I feel like, like I didn't pay his dues, so you just didn't see me pay him.
Yeah.
Like I did them all in Missouri. Went to school in LA for music, which is another thing. And then I worked on a cruise ship for 4 years, playing 6 nights a week, 3 hours a night, playing every style you can do, having to sight read stuff for show music and all this crazy stuff. You know what I mean? So like I paid all those dues, and having to get up for boat drill at 8 a.m. Like it's a different kind of due you're paying,
Sure.
Fully.
And then I come to Nashville and it's different. I got really lucky. I skipped the Sprinter band stage of touring. I bypassed that.
It sucks.
You were already so good. You didn't, what I mean?
Well, no, there's so many people that are so good that are doing that too, and some of those gigs pay well, because it's self-contained.
You might not have done the Sprinter band thing, but like you said, you were on the cruise ship. Like you played, It wasn't like
I put the hours in.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so I get what you're saying when you're like, this is your 4th gig, you're playing Kid Rock's Maine,
I mean, I've been on stage. My first instrument was banjo. I've been on stage since I was 12.
Yeah.
Like playing, we did like bluegrass gospel. We toured the Southeast, like doing different church gigs and things like that. And I learned how to play mandolin. I started doing some of that, and I started singing when I was like 15, 16, and then I got 18, and I was like, I really want to do country music, and I'd always played it at home, but I never played it out anywhere, and that's kind of when I started doing, I'm from Tuscaloosa, so I did all the college bar scene there I did that like through like probably 4 years before I ever moved to Nashville. I had come up here and like flirted with it, and I'm like, man, I gotta get better before I come. I never came here and was like, oh yeah, I'm ready.
I moved here completely blind, man.
I still feel so. I mean, I still get humbled. I've been on stage to this day, and somebody opened their mouth to sing, and I'm like, God, dude, way better than I am.
Yeah, like I think all the time, like like I'll look out in the crowd, and at a Shenandoah show, I'll be playing the Ryman or somewhere, and I'll like look out and I'll know like 3 guitar players in the crowd. I'm like, why am I even up here? Like all these guys can just smoke me, and have more connections, more feel, more everything, better tone, the whole 9 yards. So it's a very humbling place, and if you're not humbled by it, then you're delusional. Very unobservant.
That's the people that we talked about getting blackballed.
I've said this on every podcast too, and I'm going to keep saying it. If you meet somebody in Nashville and they're cocky, go the other way. Like I don't care who you are. Everybody here is just so good. There's no way that you can be cocky in this town.
Depending on what you're doing, you have to have a certain level of confidence about it, right?
Sure.
Like I'm a lead guitar player. You have to have a certain level of I'm going to rip your throat out to like do what I do and make money at it.
There's difference in being confident in your craft than like being like, oh, I'm the best thing. I'm going to be, I have this sound and this sound's the best thing that's ever. And I'm like, dude, you look where you're at right now.
Yeah. And then if you are at the top of your level within your own environment, go to the next, wherever the next level is up, and you're going to be directly at the bottom of that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Like I know, and if I walk into a fill-in gig on some bar or something like that, you never know. There might be some absolutely smoking players there, but I know I'm going to be able to hang. I'm not going to be embarrassing myself for anybody that's there. Or it might be, in some environments, might be towards the top of the heap on that. But the session I'm going to on Friday, I can guarantee you I'm the worst player in that room. And that's not me being like trying to be humble. No, those guys have been doing that for 20 years in that environment, in that specific studio, doing that every day. That's what they do. You know what I mean? I'm going to be like the dumb kid in there that feels like he hasn't paid his dues and like recorded 2,500 songs in my house in the last 5 years. You know what I mean? Still, I feel like I'm going to be sitting there like, oh God, here we go. Am I in tune? I know I'm in tune, but I'm not in tune,
Well, the first time.
That's how you get better, man. Playing with better people.
Like talking about this, I remember going to see James Mitchell. I went to see James Mitchell play at Music City Bar and Grill because I've watched him on YouTube. I was sitting in Sydney, Australia on George Street with my laptop stealing Wi-Fi from the Apple store, watching James Mitchell play guitar on YouTube. Okay?
Yep.
Thinking it, and I was like, I got to get my ass to Nashville. And like, I got to play how these guys are playing or get around that, hopefully soak up 5% of that, or something. And I went to watch him play at Music City Bar and Grill and bought his instrumental CD came out, which is great if anybody wants to check him out. And then 2 years later, I'm looking at him through the glass, and like holding an acoustic guitar and he's sitting over there. And I'm like, oh shit. I was like, they pressed record and it's like some crazy Southern gospel chart with like, with like a gajillion chords on it, and 3 mods. And then I'm like, oh shit, how am I going to handle this capo thing, and get this as a few punches as possible. And he comes over, and he's like, hey man, you're doing great, man. Guitar sounds great. I'm like, oh God, thank God. I know you're just being nice, but thank you.
The first time I ever came to Nashville was to write. And I had already wrote the song, but I got a call from a big writer he's originally from my hometown. And dude, I don't know how many number ones he's written. And his family followed me when I played back home. His family was like all of my shows, his mom, his sister, and he grew up with my aunt, like graduated with her. And so I don't think he knew who I was, but he'd heard about me.
Yeah.
And I guess I wrote this song, and it wasn't that good. This is when I'm playing in my parents' basement writing songs, And he called me out of the blue one day, and he's like, "Hey, man, I like the idea of that song. Would you be willing to come to Nashville and rewrite it?"
Cool.
And I'm like, "Sure." So that was the nicest possible way he could have said, "I like the title. The rest of it blows. Can we come change it?"
Yeah.
So we did, and
it was nice of him to do that, not just be like, "Hey, screw you, I'm taking your title."
Yeah, I know. So
that happens.
So I come down.
Nice people here, man.
I come down and we rewrite it, and I've never been to Nashville before. I'm 19 maybe, and he goes, "Well, we're gonna book the studio session next week to cut a demo of this thing." And he didn't want me to sing the demo. I've told this story too. He didn't want me to sing the demo, and he goes, "We're going to hire a professional singer to come in and sing the demo." And the other guy that he brought in to write was Billy Montana. And Billy goes, so I'm 19, first time to Nashville, and I'm writing with these two guys. And I'm like, I couldn't even get a word out.
Yeah.
They wrote the whole song because
they're just the fast. That's what they do.
Yeah.
You might as well put me next to George Strait for 4 hours, because I was just speechless sitting there watching these guys just bam, 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 bam. We probably rewrote it in 35 minutes. I'm not kidding.
Yeah, and this is what they do all day long.
Yeah, that's why they got hits. So Billy goes, "Man, let the kid sing it. I like his voice. I think he can sing it." And he's like, "Man, I don't know." He's like, "Can you be here next week again?" Sure. So we come down and to record the demo. We walk into this big fancy studio. I can't even remember the producer's name, but it was like, he's produced hits. Everybody in there had played on a bunch of hits. Yeah. It's all like A-list session players. And I walk in there, and we're sitting there's like couches and stuff where the producer is. These guys all walk in within 2 minutes of each other. Walk in, they grab a paper off the desk, look at it, looks like a damn chicken scratch to me, you know. They look at it, and they're like, "You got a voice memo?" "Yeah." They played it one time. Mm-hmm. "All right, let's do it." Walk in there, dude, and just slate it. Yep. One time all the way through. "All right, good working with you guys. You sound good, kid." Walk out the door. And I'm like, holy shit. And I'm in there for 3 hours after that trying to get a good voice track, put a good vocal on it. And I was just like, the whole time, I'm like, dude, holy crap.
It is a different skill set. And that's the next level beyond.
I'd never heard. And going back for you all, a voice memo, when you write a song, you just pull out your voice memos on your iPhone or Android, set your phone on the table, and just record an acoustic vocal take that sounds like absolute shit on your phone.
Yep.
These guys listened to that one time, and when it got done in 10 minutes, it sounded like the radio.
So there's a couple different kinds of sessions. So there's demo sessions where it's like one and done, pretty much you go down it. Maybe there's one or two overdubs, right? And those guys are knocking out, can do, 20 plus songs a day doing that. Yeah. They're doing one every 30 minutes kind of thing.
Just bouncing from studio to studio.
And then there's kind of what we're doing on coming up on Friday, which is where you basically get an hour a song. That's kind of how it's allotted, And when you're doing that, a lot of the times it's charted out beforehand. If not, what'll happen is they'll come in and most of the time, either me or my friend Andrew's session leader, most of the stuff in our circles. So we both chart pretty well. And so we'll sit there and we'll take the chart and we listen to the demo like you were talking about on the scratch, and we chart the song out top to bottom one time. They go make copies of it, the assistant engineer does, and then it's, throw down or they go down. Everybody plays and tries not to mess up, right? But if you have a little more time, then obviously everybody can be a little more creative and search for sounds and be cool with it, So I kind of like doing the stuff that's in the middle. I don't like, there's some sessions where it's like, okay, we got all day to do 2 songs,
Yeah.
Cool. Great. Let's do that. And there's other ones where it's like, okay, I feel like I'm having to play it too safe because I'm, everybody's trying to get to lunch, and I don't want to do that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I'm just like trying to survive, for the next 8 hours in here or 9 hours. And then there's the ones like we're doing coming up Friday, which is like more, okay, we have to give these songs what they deserve, do it right. It's going to have a nice cohesive glue because we have the same musicians in the same room.
Yeah.
Playing, real music together.
Mm-hmm.
And there's not a lot of programming into it. I'm not going to go home and overdub a bunch of guitars on it or anything, maybe one or two if they need me to, but most of the time we're going to get it all right there.
Sure.
And that's cool. And it's terrifying the first time you're on that stuff. Like you're talking about 3 hours, man. So I got a good, like my first session story in Nashville for you. It was a very like comfortable kind of situation. We had 2 days to do 5 songs, I think. And it was with my favorite producer in town. Her name's Femke, and she is amazing. She's just incredibly talented, pop producer, but does everything. She's amazing. And it was at West Little Studio in East Nashville. It's called the Coupe de Ville, Mr. Chicken Man, Coupe de Ville Studios. And my friend Martin was on bass, and Martin's like one of my best friends, and he's amazing, right? Yeah. And we went down, played it, and Wes was done, the drummer, first take, every song, right? Just pretty much nailed it top to bottom every time. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, oh crap, my mix feels completely different with that. The energy from the drums hitting me, the air moving in the room right here. So I'm listening in playback now as I'm doing trying to not mess up, 'cause of course I messed up every time in the first try, And I could not feel like, I never have issues with like timing or pocket in my house, you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. But I'm used to using my own click. Like I got used to a certain click sound. And my pocket was just all over the place drifting. And I'm like, Jesus, like I could not do anything about it. I've never had this problem. And Martin, my friend, is so good that he's splitting the difference between me and the drums, which when I say it's not a flame, it's like we're talking milliseconds here, maybe like by studio standards, it has to be dead on. Martin's so good, he's splitting the difference between me and the drums to make me sound good at the risk of his own reputation. Like that's a good friend right there.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And this is his first time. He just moved to Nashville too, but he's just that damn good. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And they were all super cool, and patient with me. And I felt like I was holding everything up the whole time because, guitar, we're putting 7 layers on it, and everybody else 1 layer and they're done, Sure.
Yeah.
And that was like my first one. And then I called my friend who's the preacher at the wedding, Steve. Okay, and he's the road manager for Shenandoah as well, but he's like a brilliant engineer, like Rain Man level kind of skill set. He's the road manager for Shenandoah.
Oh, road man.
And our front of house guy.
Yeah.
But he's like the ultimate Renaissance man when it comes to like doing everything, like video production. He did all like the Restless Heart video production stuff throughout COVID and all that. He's like insanely talented at everything. And I called him and I'm like, I played like shit the last 2 or 3 days and I don't know. My pocket was gone. He goes, you're using a Logic click. He said they're using an MPC click most likely through Pro Tools. He says, it sounded like this, and he emailed it to me. I go, yeah, that's it. He goes, pull that and practice with that for 3 months, you'll be fine. It's like having good friends around you is what's important, and stacking the deck with people that are comfortable with you and are going to have your back and not throw you under the bus is important.
Yeah.
And that's why it's important to like, be liked and not being asked to everybody else that are nice to you.
Exactly.
True story.
It's crazy that the difference in sound of a click will throw you though. It will.
Now I've done enough in different studios where it won't, at the time,
Sure. It's your first time hearing that click.
It's like,
what is this? What is this? That's not music. That's
just the stress of, being my first time on an actual legit tracking session,
Sure.
Dude,
not in my environment in my house.
When you're around people like that, it can be nerve-wracking because
they just know so much more than you, and you're like, oh, man,
for them,
they're gonna know I shouldn't be here.
For them, are cool, though.
They really are.
For them, like you walk into the studio and you're all smiling and happy and you're like, this is going to be fun. These guys have been doing this for 30 years, dude, every single day, all day. They got their lunch box and they're going into work.
It's literally what it is.
And they come in, they're like, all right, where's the charts at? Yep. All right, let's go do it. And like, no joking, no talking. Sometimes it's like, right to the point, let's go in and cut it. And that's intimidating, dude.
It is.
Like,
it is, man. And so like,
and I know because I've done vocals where I've screwed up and then we're like, yep, we got to take another take.
Oh, exactly. And a lot of time, especially on like electric, acoustic's a little more cut and dry most of the time, but like on electric, it's very subjective.
Sure.
It's like, I don't know if that's the sound I'm looking for, you know what I mean? Okay. You just got like the perfect take, you feel like, Mm-hmm. And I stole this quote from, I think it was Dave Cleveland. He's like, you got to be an etch-a-sketch when you're a electric guitar player in a session or any studio guy, any instrument. He's like, do this little masterpiece on your Etch-a-Sketch, right? And then the artist, the producer walks in and they're like, yeah, I was thinking maybe we could do more of this direction. You gotta shake that thing and start completely over, right? And have no ego attached to what you just did.
Yeah.
Even though if you know it's right, you have to play it again, wait for the artist to circle back to your first thing you did the first time. Sometimes, that happens.
It's like that vocally.
Yeah.
It really is. Like, maybe not, because you guys got another level, because you guys got tones, and I guess we do too vocally.
You could play the exact same thing,
but man,
but have a different, be using different pedals.
Even being a different set. Something as simple as that, and it changes the whole feel of the record.
We talked about this before too. Like, I sing a lot of demos. I don't know if we just talked about this or if we talked about it on the podcast.
Mm-hmm.
But I did a lot of demo.
About it now.
I did a lot of demo singing, and when you'd go into the studio to put down this vocal, I'm listening to a work tape, a voice memo of some dude in Wisconsin that's 80 years old that wrote this country song that is trying to write a Luke Bryan hit or something, and the song is terrible, the vocals are terrible, but they want the vocals like that.
You gotta deliver it.
So when you go in and you're a decent singer and you're trying to sing something that sounds like crap, that's not right. You're like, oh man, that's not
the
how
melody's rubbing against the chords.
That's not how I would sing that. But you have to sing it like that. Yep. And dude, I've had lines before where it literally took me 30 minutes to train my voice how to do that. Dude. Because I've never heard anybody sing like that, or do a rundown the way that guy did it,
and it's so unique to them.
Not right.
And it's not right. Yeah. It's not. It doesn't sound good, but that's what they want.
Yeah, that's what's in their head. And they got demo love with it.
So
they've been listening to it. They've soaked up that wrongness or whatever it is.
Or even when I'm recording like songs that I've written, and you're in the studio, like my producer that I work with is very hard on me in a vocal booth, and he's like, man, I'd sing a line and I'd be like, damn, dude, I just killed that line. Like, that's perfect. And he's like, yeah, but man, you're phrasing right there on the end of that one little word right there. Let's do it a couple more times. And you're like, shit, that it sounds good. And, but so that's so frustrating.
Yeah,
it is, man. So like what I do at the house most of the time, like I said, most of my income's on acoustic guitar. It's people sending demos of them playing something. And the reason most of it's on acoustic is most people don't have the budget to do, a full tracking thing.
Yeah.
And with drum space keys, get it mixed and all that. But they can scrounge up, $500 to do a ballad-esque kind of scaled back demo kind of thing with a really nice acoustic and some piano underneath it or whatever, and throw a quick mix on it, maybe $100 for the vocal tuning and call it a day. Mm-hmm. And a lot of the time they just love their part. So I have to be a total chameleon and learn. I got an array of acoustic guitars behind me that sound close to whatever they have, unless they don't want that sound, And but like, hey man, I really like this part I played, but it's not in time and it's not in tune. Yeah. And so I have to take what they did, their homegrown technique that they've been doing their whole life, try to learn it in 10 minutes, and do it better than they do it on the grid. Dead on with a click. Because I don't know a lot of the time if it's going to be going to get programming put on the back of it or anything. So like this stuff has to be just dead on time-wise, because, we might be putting a snare sample throughout it or whatever, or a program Logic shaker or something, If there's any drift and rub there, it's going to get wacky on them. But the chameleon factor is definitely a factor in that world.
It's such a crazy thing.
Dude, it's weird, man. It's a weird job. My wife all the time, she goes, your job is weird.
And it's
a weird job.
And it's not like a skill. You can't go get anybody to give you lessons on that. Like you just you got to learn that in the school of hard knocks.
Dude, I'll tell you where I learned it, man. I work on this website called Fiverr.
Mm-hmm.
And it started out as like a graphic design thing, or pay people to do stupid stuff for $5. And they started as session musicians and singers category. And I've done 2,065 songs on there. Okay,
smokes.
That's a lot of songs. And the first 300 I did were horrible, because that was where I failed in private.
Sure.
This was a great place to learn in private. I was charging nothing for these tracks while I learned. I didn't know how to EQ an acoustic guitar, where to put the mic, or probably out of tune. I was just learning how to record. So it was a great place to like fail before I got to Nashville. Yeah. So I'd already done 500 songs, whatever, when I moved to town. And so I could play with the click. I knew how to get the right sounds, and I had to layer and stack parts and find the right stuff for the right singer and make sure I'm lifting up the vocal in the right place and not distracting from the vocal or being on top of it. And so the School of Hard Knocks was in private, thankfully, the way I did that.
Sure.
And then I got here and started playing on a bunch of different websites, and now it's mostly just people email me stuff, and people hit me up on Instagram. And
That's
so
awesome.
I've had logos made on there.
Yeah.
That's crazy. I didn't know you could do that on there.
Yep.
I didn't realize that was on there either.
Man, it's their smallest subcategory they have, but I mean I've been doing it on there since 2017, and
That's awesome.
And that's how I bought my first house was Fiverr. I had my biggest year I had because Fiverr exploded during the pandemic because nobody could go to studios and everybody was just locked up with stimulus money they're wanting to spend, and so they're like, hey, let's put it on these projects,
I still got my Donald J. Trump check.
Do you?
Hell yeah.
And
I ain't never getting rid of that bitch.
so like all those online things blew up during that time though. So it was nice, like having that in place. I was just pure luck. I mean, it's all that was. I've had nothing but like good lucky things happen to me since I've been here. It's like I don't know how this all worked out. Like, okay, end up on a bus, instant credibility in town, which is great because credibility makes it easier to leverage more work, right?
Yeah.
And when you're posting, we're in Texas playing whatever, and there's two of us in the background, it's like, oh well, shit, he must be good, Doesn't mean anything, but like that's how it's perceived.
Yep.
And then as that gig kind of washed up with the pandemic, then that's right when everything exploded online, and already had the systems in place and the skill set to capitalize on that.
There you go.
And then as the pandemic chilled out, Shenandoah came along.
That's awesome.
That's it.
We got a story we got to tell, Nicky.
God, which one?
What about?
We have two. Oh, I know which one.
We played a gig one day.
Oh, I don't know this one.
Yeah, you do. Nicky was playing guitar for me a lot back then.
Yeah.
This was when I kind of first started doing band gigs in town. Like, because people that come to Nashville, like, I never wanted to play full band. And I didn't. Like the whole time at Tootsie's and stuff, I never did it. I didn't like dealing with different musicians every day, and you don't know somebody, and this guy's a dick and whatever, I just hated doing it. And honestly, I made more money acoustic.
Of course. Yeah.
You're
Plus
not
ways to split the tips.
Yeah, you're not splitting the tips 4 or 5 ways, 6 ways sometimes. So I just stuck to acoustic gigs. And when I first started playing full band, Nicky played for me a lot. And we had probably could have been a better band. We had some crazy guys, and we had a lot of fun.
Is this story going to get me divorced?
No.
Okay.
No. So I guess we had a group chat or something, and I was like, you know what we should do? We should wear bib overalls with nothing underneath for a 4-hour gig downtown.
And trucker hats.
And trucker hats. And they were totally inappropriate trucker hats. What did yours say?
White girl wasted.
Like, yeah.
Had like a booty hunter hat.
We had Ricky. We had 2 guitar players. We had Ricky Rooker and Nicky. And Ricky said, "Don't be a Richard." Mine said, "Spitters or quitters."
Yeah, we each had a $40 bar tab, and we blew through it in the first 30 minutes.
We got drunk as shit, and we played the whole gig, dude, with
Destroyed.
just bib overalls on. So afterwards, we're like, dude, let's go downstairs and keep drinking.
Yeah.
So we go downstairs to Tequila Cowboy to keep drinking, and they kicked us out.
What?
The whole band. They kicked the whole
Like, you
band.
gotta get out of here.
They kicked me and my whole band out of the
Was it because of the overalls and the hats? Or
We didn't have shirts
We
on.
had our nipples out, yeah.
I was
That's
like,
a good gig.
do you know how many nipples I see in a 4-hour show
Oh,
now?
I know. I remember this.
On women?
I made you cry that gig laughing on one time. I was like, my goal was like, I'm going to get him one time. And we were doing Lay You Down by Conway. And you went down. We took all the way down to like B flat or some super low key. And you kept going and going and going down. And I go, after the crowd and the clap, I go, boys, I said, old brother Justin here at that B flat, not a dry seat in the house. And then you lost it. And you couldn't get it together. Like, so we were already counting off the next song, it was like a vocal intro or something. I remember that gig now.
Yeah. What's the other one you were thinking of?
I thought you were going to tell the slip and slide or something.
Yeah, we could tell that one too. I built a slip and slide in my backyard at our old house for a party, and there was it was the slightest amount of a hill. So to go, you just had to run really fast and basically dive into the ground trying to, basically you had to be trying to commit suicide to make it to the end. And Nicky did. He hit that thing hard.
I showed up in a leopard print Speedo.
Yeah, leopard print Speedo. Yeah.
And And they were out there spraying baby oil on or squirting baby oil on the thing to make it slide better.
I
And
bet you had road rash in bad places.
oh, dude, and I missed it. I overshot because I was inebriated, and I overshot the tube I was supposed to be landing on. Instead, it landed on my elbow, broke my rib. Yeah, I broke my rib.
Like legit broke it.
Yeah, like for in pain for 2
I
months.
want my rib back.
And then I had to join Shenandoah the next week. That was it. And I'm like trying to lug a,
You just walk in there like, man, you look like you're hurting. Are you okay? And like, you can't tell them that.
oh yeah, I can't, it's like a no drinking gig, so, oh yeah, I was drunk on a slip and slide, boss, Yeah. We're up here delivering a prayer on stage, and I'm like over here trying to breathe,
It was so funny, dude.
Holy
What you were so drunk that you just kind of bounced up and you're like,
Yeah, I didn't realize I was hurt till the next
like,
morning.
Really?
that one hurt a little bit. And then you just kept going. You did it like 4 or 5 more times, I think.
Yeah, the next morning, man, I was dying.
Yeah.
I was like, I think I broke my rib. My wife, she's an RN. She's like, you didn't break your rib. I go, babe, I've never broke a rib. I'm pretty sure I just broke a rib.
I can't breathe.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Like
you
sneezing was not fun.
Oh, that sounds miserable. So
It was a fish fry.
Where are you from?
Southeast Missouri, Cape Girardeau, Missouri.
Okay.
So I grew up there, born and bred, and moved to LA when I was 18 to study music. And there's a school there called the Musicians Institute. It's like right in the shit show of Hollywood. And
I bet that was cool.
it was colorful.
Being that age too and being out there.
Dude, Southeast Missouri to Hollywood.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I'm the only fool walking through there in cowboy boots 2 miles to school every day because I couldn't afford a car there. And but I knew like the minute I got there, I'm like, I found out that like great players are paying to play places, and I'm like, I was making good money when I was 16 years old playing in shitty bars, in Southeast Missouri.
You always hear that out there. Like everybody that goes out to California, they're like, you can't make money out there.
And so there's like
not as doing what we do.
5 guitar players that are playing all the movie scores and they're killing it, But other than that, it's not the environment, and it's not really my vibe, anyways. I grew up in Southeast Missouri with eating chicken and dumplings and stuff like that. You know what I mean? And so it's like LA is a different thing, and it's cool, and like it's a fun place to visit. And if you got crazy money, LA is amazing. Like it's awesome. If you got cash to do what you want to do there,
if you've got the money to get access to all the cool stuff,
dude, it's badass. The weather's great, but I did that.
People cool though?
Not like obviously there's cool people everywhere, right?
Sure.
And most people are cool, but you tend to. I did run into like a few more like sour apples out there for the most part. And this is before everything got. This is like 2011, so it's like
before it got too crazy,
too nuts, with all the craziness. There was bums everywhere and stuff like that, and you're trying not to get attacked on your way to school every day and stuff. Like crazy stuff, and it's nuts. It's LA, and you go down to Santa Monica and stuff, and there's super nice parts of it. Then you go 3 blocks over, and there's not nice parts at all, and man, I did that for 2 years, got my degree. It's like an associate's program. And then I went to work on cruise ships, and I worked for Carnival for 4 years, the Walmart of the Seas.
Like playing guitar?
Yeah. And I played guitar for them.
Were you like in a band, or was it?
Yeah. And so they came to my school actually, and they auditioned like 40 of us or whatever, and 2 of us got the gig. And I got the call because I had long hair and a pink guitar.
Nice.
Everybody played the record,
Yeah.
And I was standing outside the room, and they were talking. He's like, "Hey, get the one guy in here and do with the pink guitar." And so they were wanting to like rebrand everything and make it less like jazz nerd, make it more like a rock show.
Sure.
And so they sent us out, and I just had this freakishly good band, and got lucky with them. And then after a year and a half, I became a music director for them. So I played guitar in the band still, and I managed all the musicians on the boat.
Oh, that's cool.
Did that, and that's where I got the band leader thing. So which was another thing that just translated great to Nashville because
that job would suck.
Yeah, that's got to be.
It was
so stressful.
Actually, man, it was easy, dude. Like,
really?
I mean, because I had a great band.
Okay.
And so we had great ratings, and so that gave me leverage within the company, so I could just do whatever I wanted.
What about the managing part? That's what I was like. That's got to be.
I'd say it was like I had to manage 40 drunk homesick idiots for 3 years. Yeah.
I wouldn't want to manage us.
No, but it was fun, and I like being the boss. And I got a nicer cabin, man, and all that,
Yeah.
But
I only got 4 of them.
You got a balcony,
and it's like wrangling wild fucking turkeys.
one of them's right over there.
And
one of them standing there shaking his head at me right now.
But it was cool, man. You play 3 hours a night, and then you go get drunk in Cozumel and swim with dolphins and shit. So it was cool, and I did that. But the band leader experience was great coming to Nashville because you get paid more as a band leader.
Yeah,
and
you got that to put on your resume.
Yeah, and Shenandoah doesn't have a band leader. It's just a weird gig. It's just Marty kind of runs the show, and everybody just plays their part, But in most most every band I'm in, I'm usually band leader in it.
Okay.
And that's how the cards fall. I usually chart out the songs and wrangle the cats,
I feel like it would be easier if you're somebody like Marty though, or like Garth, because you just open your mouth and everybody's gonna listen to you.
Yeah.
Like if you're sitting there doing something and Garth Brooks goes, "Hey, yes, sir."
Yeah, exactly.
If I tell my band, hey guys, I need y'all to do this. Now, if I was Garth, they'd be like, yes, sir.
And
I'll tuck you into bed at night. I'll drive to your house and tuck you in.
and then
You want a sandwich?
No mayo, got it, boss.
and another thing a lot of people don't know is like if you're doing a session through the union, session leaders get paid double scale on those.
Okay.
So you get paid twice.
So explain the union for everybody.
So this is right to work state, and so you don't have to do sessions on the card is what it's called. On the card is through the union, and so there's union scale, and there's different scales for the level of project you're doing. There's master scale, which pays more. There's limited pressing, demo scale, single song overdub, and all of them have different pay rates depending on what it is. And most people that do sessions off the card usually use that as a template for what things pay. So like it's usually like $250-ish for a 3-hour session. And I always try to pay a little more into that. Other than my friend Steve, because, it covers, all their benefits and stuff that they wouldn't be getting through the union if you kick in a little extra on that if I'm producing something and hiring the musicians. And your session leader gets paid twice. And so I was like, as soon as I heard that, I'm like, well, shit, I have experience leading people and organizing things. I'm usually a good person, just keeping things organized. It's most of the gig. It's charting it out. You don't really have to manage too much on a session. Most of the guys are pros. If you're playing with A-listers, they manage themselves.
It's not like you're doing a live gig. Nobody's getting drunk before a session.
No. And I've never seen a beer on a session.
Yeah.
Ever. And if you, but if they're joking around too much or something like, hey guys, here, let's get this together. Or if everybody's having too many opinions, yours is kind of the final one along with the producer.
Sure.
If it's a more passive producer that kind of lets the musicians handle things. Yeah. But it's all fun, man.
So, Nicky, you just said something, too, that people probably don't know what it is when you said A-listers, if you're playing with A-listers. So,
yes.
In Nashville, on studio tracks and stuff, when you say A-listers, you're talking about the guys that have been playing on records for years.
Yes.
They are top-notch.
A handful of guys doing that.
It's a handful of guys that have played on damn near every record you've ever heard.
Yes.
Right? Except for guys like, I think Al Dean has his own band on.
That's very, very rare.
And it's very rare.
Yep.
Most of the people, their bands don't play on their records. It's the A-listers.
I didn't realize that for a long time.
Occasionally, if there's somebody that has a unique voice in the band, like on their instrument, they'll put them on. So like Shenandoah is an example of that. So
or like a harmony singer.
So that, I mean, like as well as like a voice on their instrument too.
Okay.
So like on the Shenandoah thing, they use studio musicians. It was the 90s. That's like, it's obviously everybody used studio musicians, but those were recorded with Rick Hall at Muscle Shoals, like where they did the Bob Seger stuff, Aretha, Wilson Pickett, all the famous Muscle Shoals legacy was done in Shenandoah down there too with those guys, because that's where they're based out of, is Muscle Shoals. And Jim Seals was the original guitar player, and he's a freak. Like he's Paisley's favorite guitar player, is the original guitar player of Shenandoah. And he's had this really unique style. It's very lyrical and poetic. And so they had session guys come in, and then they'd have Rick would have Jim come in and play on all the guitar parts. And talk about a producer working you. You want to hear horror stories about a producer like doing 87 gajillion takes? Rick Hall, like stuff Marty's told me, man. And like imagine producing Marty Raybon's vocal, right? Just put the mic up, get the hell out of the way. Nope, we're doing it 80 more times.
For real.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I would do. And just, Marty, you like it? Okay, good
Cool.
deal.
Yeah, you don't need to tune that shit. Just put the mic up, get it out of the way.
Yeah, right. Man, he's still got it too, man. When I saw y'all play, I'd never seen Shenandoah.
Yeah.
And that's literally one of my favorite bands of all time, if not my favorite band. Yeah. And
13 number ones, man.
They're awesome,
man. A bunch of number ones. It's cool playing a show because, like, most of the time before them, I was putting together, a hot shit band for some pretty girl with Daddy Has Texas Oil Money or something, but the songs are what they are. You know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
And, you're learning songs that aren't great or whatever, but it's a job, and this is what we do.
Sure.
And then when I got the call for Shenandoah, they sent me the set list, and I started listening through it. I was like, I know all of these songs.
Yeah.
I grew up hearing all these, and there's 13 number ones. We played the show, and the show is literally just a hit after hit, and the crowd knows every word to them. It's cool, So it's nice playing for an artist in a band. You can,
Yes.
has credibility. People grew up with, in other words.
That you actually enjoy yourself.
Yeah, my dad.
It's not one of those things you're like, oh yeah, this is my job, and you're lying about liking them. Like,
oh yeah,
no, and all three of us love
like
Shenandoah.
my dad told me, he was like, my dad told Marty, he was like, I remember Nicky was a baby. I'm sitting there literally in the trailer, with my dad watching Sunday in the South on CMT with bouncing me on his knee, and he's like,
worker houses. Oh, dude. I love it. Man. My dad told me when I first moved here, he's like, you got to play Sunday in the South, because I was always doing 2 Dozen Roses and Cumberland Road. You got to learn Sunday in the South. You got to learn Sunday in the South. Finally, I learned it, and that was like my favorite song to play, dude.
Yeah, man.
I'd play it 4 times a show.
It's such a good song.
So good, man. And I can't believe we haven't got canceled for it yet.
Everybody's covered that thing too,
dude.
Yeah.
And
Miranda Lambert's done a version of it.
Yep.
Really? I didn't know.
They brought Marty in to sing backup on it, and he thought he was gonna be like singing a verse or something. He told me this. He goes, they brought me in. I think I just did just another Sunday part at the end. That's all I did on or something like that.
Just another Sunday.
Yeah.
Yeah, dude.
I like Love Like That. That's my favorite Shenandoah song.
Oh, that's a good one, dude.
Yeah, it's like at my wedding, they played Andrew. So it's funny, we had a Shenandoah wedding. It's like the preacher at my wedding was the road manager for Shenandoah. He's like my best friend, and then the piano player is my other best friend. Played Love Like That, and everybody's walking down the aisle, and stuff.
Oh, that's
bridal party.
awesome.
Yeah. I was singing it to myself sitting in my chair. I was like, damn, he's playing I Want to Be Loved Like That. That's awesome.
Yeah, man.
What a damn song that is, buddy. Whew. That ending, that last verse.
I got a great Shenandoah story for you. A road story, right? It's like a lot of the road stories, we can't tell, but this is
why
one
we're here, baby.
This is a good one. All y'all watching this one's, it could have been so much better, but it's still funny. So we're playing a casino up in like North Dakota or somewhere, middle of nowhere. And me, Steve, and Andrew are sitting at the roulette table. And we're sitting there, and the casino manager comes up and hands Steve the check for the show, which is like a substantial check, you know what I mean, for them to come and play. And, jokingly, we were like, oh yeah, we should. I said, put it all on red, Steve, like that. And then we all looked at each other, and the manager's like, you can actually take that, and they'll cash it over for you right there at the window. And I'm like seriously like looking at the guys, and I'm like, okay, where do I have enough money scrolled away that I'm looking at it, I'm like, split that 3 ways, we could cover this. And we're all looking at each other, and then our keyboard player is like, I don't know. And Steve's looking at me, and I'm like, we need to do it. I'm like, I think we should do it. Put it on red.
Was Marty's money in that too?
Oh, it was everybody's money. and I'm like, yeah, like everybody's money's in this check. And I'm like, yeah, we need to. I'm like, I think we should do it, guys. I was like, because here's why. And I'm like, and they're all like, and they're backing up. And I'm like, no, listen, hear me out. I'm like, if we win this, we just made a lot of money, guys.
And the story.
And nobody would ever know. I was like, if we lose it, we get the greatest story in country music right now, like this year at least, Yes. I was like, when Shenandoah's keyboard player, road manager, and guitar player are sitting there drinking, playing roulette, and lost all this band's money on roulette. And we didn't do it, and they didn't do it, and I was so disappointed in them. I'll never forgive them to the day I die.
Have you ever told Marty that story?
Oh, no.
No.
What do you think Marty would do if you did it and you lost?
He'd just shake his head and say something hilarious because he's funny. He'd just
You
be like,
think?
oh, yeah. If we lost, I don't know. We'd have to, I think that was part of the problem. We were trying to figure out how we could get the money wired if we did lose fast enough to cover our asses,
Marty, we did something
because you
today.
got to have it before you get back to town, I'm sure.
Oh yeah, and here's another. When you get back to the bus, and here's another thing too. It's like, anytime we're playing a gig with Shenandoah, there's no cell service, right? It's like anytime that's like the joke. Anytime we see our bars start to go away, like, oh, we must be getting close to the venue, right? Because we play like middle of nowhere, so we're like the main attraction for that whatever little town we're playing in that year, And I was like, okay, do we have cell service up here to we get a hold of our bank? Well, damn, it's Saturday, they're closed, Like we're legitimately trying to do the logistics of how we're going to cover our asses if we lose this chunk of cash, or this giant check.
But dude, if you would have won though,
I think it would have been even a better story if we would have lost.
Yeah.
If you would have lost, that'd be the coolest shit that ever happened.
Freshly married, come home, yeah, babe.
So I didn't get paid this weekend. Well, why not? Well,
But
don't leave the account.
But seriously though, this is of all the shithead musicians over all the years, you don't think that's ever happened?
Oh, I'm sure it's happened.
It's
all
had
the
to.
casinos played. Oh yeah,
It's had
definitely
to have
happened.
happened.
It's had to have happened.
And
Just like that scenario where, the whoever's fronting the band or whatever's on the bus, and you got people around and you're drinking, and the check gets handed to those guys, and it's like,
oh yeah,
you guys want to do it?
so tempting, man.
Because musicians are shitheads.
Oh.
We are all shitheads,
One
especially
of us.
And this band is so addicted to gambling.
especially when you
Oh yeah,
when you get off stage. You just had a great show. You're a little bit buzzed up. You start drinking more,
Get
and,
that little bit of adrenaline.
and you got that adrenaline going from being on stage. Yeah, you do some stupid shit.
oh yeah. And people. Oh man, it's like the gambling thing. Like we played in Texas Friday night, and like the minute we get on the bus, like Steve comes around, a road manager with a paper. We all sign our name and hands us our per diem, and immediately we start gambling by any means necessary with our per diem, right? And so usually it's like they're flipping quarters and stuff. They're like high card, low card. They do the thing where they do the card in their head. You have to guess. Try to bluff each other out. So like we're like Amazon and a roulette table right now that we can put on the front lounge. We get to it's like by the end of the night, the merch guy had like $320 up, right? He like took everybody's money. And then we get to the venue and there's like pool tables and darts and a basketball goal. And I'm like, oh guys, like we got so much to gamble. I made like $70 back, I didn't tell them that I like grew up playing pool, so like I made all my money playing pool and darts and I'm good for the week, come home, take the wife to Olive Garden, live it up,
Oh, pull shark, man.
Marty Raven hired a bunch of Michael Jordans. just all just gambling. They said that dude just gambled on everything.
Dude,
Michael Jordan?
Everything. They said he
Oh, yeah.
he wouldn't even make big bets. He just did it because he just bet like $1 and stuff sometimes.
Oh, dude.
Just for like,
the luckiest man alive is our drummer, Mike McGuire, the original member.
Mm-hmm.
He'll come up and just take everybody's money every time. We were all down so bad that he just forgave everybody's bets one night.
Really?
We were. It was like, because, like you keep doubling down, eventually
Sure.
you're going to come back and win on 50-50, And we're down like hundreds, like everybody, hundreds and hundreds of dollars. And he's like, well, I'm tired of taking y'all's money. He goes, debt's forgiven. Goes back, gets in his bunk, and we're like, oh my God.
Thank God.
Oh man.
Rylan has a story that he's told me, and he didn't tell it last week. I should have asked him, but I'll tell
We'll
it.
have to get him to tell it.
Rylan played for fiddle for Chris Young.
Okay.
And apparently Chris Young really likes to gamble. And I guess one night, like Chris goes straight to the high roller room every time and just dropping big money. And he's like, I'm telling you, Rylan's like up there playing penny slots or dollar, dollar spins, 50 cent spins. Chris goes, I'm telling you, Rylan, you ain't going to win no money like that. You might win $300, but you're already going to be down 400. He's like, you need to go back there. He's like, how much money do you have that you can lose?
That's a horrible question.
I know.
Yeah.
And I don't really remember. I'm not going to quote this. We'll have Rylan tell the story again, but I believe Rylan went back and played like $600, like spending like $25 spins or something, and ended up winning a bunch. Or maybe he lost and Chris gave him his money back or something, but it's just funny that Chris was like, you're not going to win money like that. You got to play big.
Oh, dude.
You got to play big. And Rylan would do that.
Yeah.
I would be like, hell no, dude.
Oh, man.
I've never been to a casino.
Man,
That's awesome.
I had not
Never
until I started playing with Shenandoah.
Really?
And we played Vegas last year.
Oh, yeah.
We did a run of 3 casinos, and one was like down by the border somewhere, and I lost my ass bad. Like, just could not win. I'm like, oh, it'll turn around eventually. Never turned around. I got to Vegas and was destroyed after a show and won it all back on roulette, just killing it. Could not lose. And then we went to Laughlin, Nevada, which is the most depressing place in the world. And we're like, yeah, let's not do this. People just go here to die, But in Vegas, we played the Hilton in Vegas, and Luke was playing there, Luke Bryan.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm buddies with a bunch of the guys in his band, and we went over and Luke, I think, or some people in the band like to gamble, so they just shut down like one of the high roller rooms just for them to go and play craps, basically.
Sure.
So we were just over there hanging out with them, man. So I feel like that's a musician thing for some reason, like the gambling deal,
It's fun.
No, I've never done it. I've never played a casino either.
I have a lot. I've
It's
not
great, man.
played
They
a lot.
treat you good,
Yeah.
food.
Some of the casinos, at least I don't know about for Shenandoah.
Well, I'm sure
they
that's a
probably
total-
pay you
it's a
guys the night of,
different
of course.
thing.
But some of them, when you're like just getting into the smaller casinos, real small stages, like you don't get paid for like a month after the gig.
Yeah,
they mail the check,
yeah. I've done those before. I moved to Nashville,
and it
yeah,
sucks.
yeah.
Yeah.
It sucks bad.
And that's normal in the session world though too, man. Like on a lot of sessions.
Especially when you're at that level too, because like you can't wait. Like you're spending money to get there, you know.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, how many times have you done this? Because I know I've done it. Like when I first started out, you know, like just underprice yourself for a gig.
Yeah.
You know, and you get there, and like that's the thing. People will be like, "You guys charge what?" And I'm like, "Dude, I have lost money so many times playing gigs just because I wanted to play the gig and like try to get my foot in the door or whatever. Like especially when I first started."
Yeah, but then I think you're gonna do it like that for every gig.
Yeah.
This is
Or me, like I'd just be like, "Oh yeah, man, that much money? Oh, dude, we'll be killing it. We'll be making a ton, you know." And you get there, and then you realize, you know, gas, and you know you gotta get a car to go, and you got your guys and sound system setting up, and then you're like, "Holy crap, we made $50. My bad, guys. Like I didn't realize, you know."
Yeah.
I suck at giving up a money number, dude. I
hate doing it. I don't
hate
know how to.
when people are like, "How much do you charge?" Well, it depends, but you know,
What do you want?
I always feel guilty for doing it too, you know, because I'm like, "Oh, I don't know," and I'm like, but then again, like you got to think about it. It's like, dude, if at the price you want me to come, I'm gonna lose my butt on it.
people don't understand either.
And then you have some people that'll be like, "Hey, we'll give you this." And you're like, "You'll give me what?" You know, it's like, wait, you know, it goes both ways. You have people that don't want to pay a lot, and you have people that will pay you a ton. You know,
dude. So here's what I've learned on this, and I learned this when I was in LA. You know, it never rains in LA, right? It's like just sunny and beautiful every day. It rains like twice a year, and the one day it rained, they're gonna have like some special clinic with this guy that started the biggest lesson empire in the United States or whatever. And he used to work as like the Spider-Man in front of the Chinese theater, like taking pictures with people and stuff. You know, like totally self-made, rags richest guy, like it's rolling now. And it rained that day, and I was the only person that showed up to this clinic that was supposed to be like a big deal. And so it's just me and him. He just sat down. We went and got like sat there and talked. And I like teaching. I teach a lot. And he was like, "So what do you do?" I said, "I want to, you know, play on record and teach, maybe play live." And I was 18 or 19 at this point. He goes, "Man," he goes, "here's the best advice I got for you. Be more expensive than everybody." And I'm like, "Really?" He goes, "Yeah." He goes, "First thing I did, how I got my business off the ground," he goes, "I went down to the guitar center that's closest to like Beverly Hills."
Mm-hmm.
He said, and everybody had their prices and their cards on there and stuff, you know. He goes, "I got everybody's number, found out how much they all charge, and I charged 50% more than everybody."
Really?
He goes, "All those rich ass moms in Beverly Hills want nothing but the best for little Jimmy." He goes, "I wasn't even better than anybody. If they see a higher price, they think you're better."
Oh wow!
And
I thought about that.
And I was like, "Really?" He goes, "Yep." He goes, "My lessons are more expensive than everybody. I did the same thing online on Fiverr, that website I work on, and Sound Better and all these other ones." So like if you like look at guitar tracks on there, like or whatever, most people are charging on there. It's super low. Like usually going rate in Nashville is like between $100 and $200 a song, depending on their experience or credibility or how good, whatever, you know. Most people on there doing like for like $50 and stuff. I charge $125 a song for acoustic or electric, and I charge $175 for acoustic and electric on the same song, which is more than double what everybody else is charging. I have more ratings to back it up, you know.
Sure.
And the minute I did that, and I kept like, I felt bad about it when I did that, I kept raising it to see if there was like a threshold. And I found the threshold because my sales started to go down once I got too expensive. I backed it off another $10 back, and that's where I landed on. It's 125 and 175.
Mm-hmm.
And the quality of client goes up too then. So it's going to thin the herd out. You don't want to play these shitty bars where they're like, you know, if they're badgering you over price stuff, they're not going to take care of your band. They're not going to cover your food.
No.
But if you say, "Hey, you know, what do you want for this deal? I need $2,500, you know? Okay. When you walk in, your drinks are going to be covered. Your food's going to be covered. They're going to have hotel rooms for you.
Yeah.
You know, and I would rather, and so that's the thing is like the quality of my client went up to where I don't have to deal with the cheaper a client is, the more they're going to want, which is just weird.
It's true.
It is. It is.
It's really worked out, man.
All the private stuff and all the bar, like I went where I like made good money. Like it was, you know, they'll be like, "Oh yeah, we'll pay for your travel, we'll pay for rooms, we'll get you
treat you like a king,
get you food, whatever you need." You know?
It's either you're a king or a second class citizen.
I got a good question for you.
Yeah.
So a lot of people too don't know about riders. When you're on the road, you have a list of stuff that you do you say demand?
Yeah.
From the venue,
we ask,
or from the promoter.
Yeah.
And do you guys have like on your rider? Do each of you have your own one, or just,
it's just a
full
general
band
band
one? So I know it can be for each individual person or whatever, right?
Yeah, some people do that. Yeah, bigger acts they will. You know, or like if there's a compiled list, you know, it's like okay, there's a vegetarian in the band, so there's always like one vegetarian meal, or somebody likes hummus or whatever. You know, they'll put that on there.
Sure.
You know,
they put weird shit on riders to test the venue.
Van Halen is the famous one, I think. It was them on the Eminem thing, right?
Well, I know, I can't even think of who it is. It might have been Clay Walker, actually, that told me this, because when I opened for him, he requests a jar of local honey
Allegedly.
everywhere he goes. Allegedly.
Love that.
But and I've talked to other musicians that were talking about it, that the artist will put some crazy shit in the rider that they know that venue has to work hard to get.
Yeah.
Just to see if they really give a shit.
So I think that this started.
See if they're gonna like come back next year, or whatever. Like to see.
I don't know
Is
anything.
it kind of like
about
a
Van
test of
Halen.
that, or?
What I heard was the Eminem thing. Everybody laughs, the red M&Ms or whatever.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
And so I think that was I could be wrong, but I think it was Van Halen. I'm probably messing that up. But like they basically walked in, their road manager was like, okay, if they see only red M&Ms, everything else is gonna be covered. If they took the time to do that, you're set for the day. It was just like a tell for them to know.
They didn't even eat the M&Ms. It was just.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
But like, yeah, there's some crazy shit put on riders.
That's kind of cool though.
Yeah, like ours is easy. It's like ours is like the most boring rider ever. It's like peanut butter and jelly and bread and water, like Dr. Pepper, shit like that.
Yep.
It's easy.
I want a gallon of milk, but drain a quarter of it out. I want 3/4 of a gallon of milk.
You like give it in milliliters, specific milliliter.
2.5 milliliters of milk.
It's 3 drops. Yeah.
God.
Yeah, man. There's a lot to the touring stuff that you would know way more than us. I mean, we've toured on little scales and playing little dive bars here and there, and it's fun, man. I've opened for a lot of the guys from the '90s, and it's always fun. You never know what you're gonna get with those guys, though.
Yeah,
like you don't know who you're gonna meet. You don't know. Some of those guys are ghosts, dude.
Oh yeah,
like ghosts.
Mm-hmm.
Clint Black was like that, man.
Yeah.
Like. When I opened for him, I mean, he was nowhere to be found. You didn't see him all day. You didn't see him after the show. He showed up on stage, sang his songs, and gone. Just vanished.
We did the 90s Country Music Cruise in January, and Clint Black was on it. And we had one day where we came back and docked in Florida halfway through the cruise. And Clint came on and sang and got off the ship. Everybody else hung out the whole cruise.
Mm-hmm.
He came, played right when we docked. And then right before we pulled out, him and his whole band got off the ship and left. So they did. Because they just worked it out. The management worked it out to where he didn't have to hang out and get hassled by everybody. I don't know anything. It might be super cool or whatever, but like that's I just know that's how the schedule worked.
That's crazy.
It was a cool cruise, man. I remember I was walking down the beach in the Speedo, of course, and I'm walking down the beach, and me and my wife and half of Shenandoah is with us, and we're all walking by, and we got our pina coladas and stuff. We're walking down through there, and Tracy Lawrence looks up. He looks at me and smiles, just like nods the head and does this. I'm like, yeah, there we go.
Dude, Tracy's awesome.
He's cool, man.
Tracy's a great dude.
We played some like Republican fundraiser with him in Florida, like last year, I think, and he was killer. Man, he came out and talked and hung out with me and Andrew and stuff. He's super nice. Took a photo.
You watched his podcast at all?
Not yet. I guess I'm gonna have to. I didn't know he had one.
It's
awesome.
Good.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's good. He talks about anything, dude.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Which is kind of how that's how we want this to be.
Yeah.
But Tracy don't give a shit, buddy.
Yeah.
He just gets on.
I get that vibe.
He gets on there and speaks his mind, man.
I love that though.
Well, Nicky, we're gonna get you out of here, buddy. We had a lot of fun. Thanks for coming on,
Dude, I appreciate you guys having me, man. This has been super fun, and hopefully the people found this interesting.
We love the Shenandoah
yeah.
stories. Well, if
For
they're
sure.
watching our podcast, they better like Shenandoah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
If you don't like Shenandoah,
Probably not gonna like this.
go listen to something else, I guess. Go listen to Upchurch.
Oh, Nicky, what about your YouTube channel?
Yeah,
Oh,
man.
yeah.
If you are like talking about like the inside look into the stuff, like I post videos like guitar lessons and stuff like that, but I just did like some tour vlogs and things. We did like a fly day to Arizona, and we went to like Tombstone and all that. So I showed, this is how to pack a guitar. Then we get to the venue. Here's what sound check looks like. Here's interviews with the bass player and everybody else, and Paul and everybody. And so it's a fun deal, and it's got it's kind of like a behind the scenes look into how Nashville works kind of channel.
That's cool. And if you like Shenandoah, it's behind the scenes on that. So
Yeah, so it's like just go and type in like Nicky V guitar, and I'll look for the Mouthy Ginger on there.
Nice.
It's awesome.
And I appreciate you guys. Thank you all.
Dude,
Yeah, man.
appreciate you coming on.
It's been
Seriously.
a good time. We'll definitely have you again if you want to.
Oh, yeah.
And we got to get Paul Sanders on here. We got to get some more of the
I'll
Shenandoah
come on.
guys.
I'll do it with Paul.
That'd be
That'd
awesome.
be great.
We could get
He's got all the stories, man. He knows everybody.
we could get a couple of you on here. That'd be
Yeah.
neat.
It's cool, man.
Tell Marty we won't harass him too much.
Yeah.
He You'd probably do it, man. If the routing worked out, and I don't want us to talk for him, but man, he'll talk with anybody. He's good as it gets, man.
We love to talk. We're just some old country boys that want to bullshit a little
Good
bit.
cat, man.
Yeah, that's it.
All right, Nicky. Well, thank you, buddy.
Thanks, man.
See you guys.